me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the Sunday edition. And Shane, getting a feedback, so I think we got to take it out of edition or something because it's coming back on me. All right, folks. Good morning, and welcome to the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here in AM 830 WCRN. As you heard, Shane is flying the board this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Joe. How are you this fine morning?
Excellent. You look marvelous.
Oh, you look marvelous as well.
I broadcast from, what do we call it? Just auxiliary studio, secure location. I don't know what you want to call it. But everything works the same, folks. So to join the conversation, 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Shane will take your call, and we'll hook you up. Also, I'll let you know now that Mike Wade's out today. So actually, I'll be with you till 9 o'clock. So I'll be doing my show, the Joe Mangiacotti Show, as well as Conservatively Speaking with Mike Wade. And that's a flashback. Many years. Mike and I did CS together for 12 or 13 years 12 years before I went solo with him when he retired initially, in 2017. But like everybody else in this business, he couldn't stay away that long. So he'll be back, of course, next Sunday morning, but Mike's out today. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, reminding you that we are live streaming on the TuneIn app. That means you can take us anywhere. And if you don't have it on your device, seriously, it's seconds to download it. Punch in WCRN. There we are, 24/7. You can also do me a favor, hit the like button so that it's easy for you to see it when you open your TuneIn app. You're right there. Plus, we know that you're listening as well. You can tell Alexa to play WCRN. She'll do it. No questions asked. And we're live streaming, not just on the TuneIn, obviously, but we're live streaming with video. We have a camera in the studio at our main station here, but there's also a camera in my studios so that you can check us out on, of course, Facebook and Twitter, as well as YouTube, LinkedIn, and even Twitch TV. Still don't know why we're there. We have our text line, which is available. That's 617-297-8388. You could actually save that in your phone as WCRN or TJM show or something so that you know it's the number. You just text it appears on the screen. Or if you email, text Joe on the radio, no dashes, no periods, just like one word, text Joe on the radio at gmail.com. They both appear on the same screen. All right. Oh, by the way, if you're going to email the show, we have a show email. It's joemshow@gmail.com. I get a lot of emails to the text Joe on the radio for trying to talk to me about the show or show me some article or video or something you think I want to see or should see. Use that Joe M Show one, because I only look at that text Joe on the radio when we're on the air, folks, so it doesn't really serve the purpose you meant it to do. What else for housekeeping can I think of? That kind of wraps that up for now. Okay, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Obviously, we've got a lot going on so many fronts, so you got to start to wonder, where do we start with anything? First of all, I got to point out that it is today, June 12th, is the 6th-year anniversary of the Pulse Club massacre. This, by the way, if you didn't realize it, or maybe if you didn't catch the show, I think I did last Wednesday, Jazz sat in with me Friday, I think it was. And I went over June month, and June is what they call Pride Month. So across, not just the country, folks, but across the world during the month of June, There are pride festivals and parades and events all over the place in every major city in the world, with obviously certain exceptions. It's still being homosexual is still illegal in 71 countries, and in over 60 of those, we're talking about imprisonment, torture, even death, like being thrown off the top of a building or stoned to death. So obviously, there's not too many pride parades in those nations, folks. So that being said, 6 years ago, June, Pulse nightclub, and gunman goes in, and we're talking about another situation, and we see some of these common threads with these shooters, don't we? Male, they're all males. Honestly, I can't recall. I'm just trying to think. Is there? I don't recall any mass shooting that involves a female, with the exception that technically these, and I talked about this the other day, folks, and the media, legacy media, always glosses over this, but DOJ is defining a mass shooting of 4 people shot or more. And I've talked about this. If you listen to the show, you know I've brought this up more times than I can remember and or count. And that is, there are these shootings every single weekend in these major cities: Detroit, Chicago, LA, New York. And you if you go look for it, you're going to find 18 people shot, 27 people, 9 dead, 7 dead. Sometimes they're 8-year-old girls, little boys or babies in the crib. But a week ago, on the Monday, I woke up and I was, of course, going to do the Monday show. And I saw headlines about 13 mass shootings in the country. And I'm thinking to myself, finally, because that didn't happen. So did Uvalde change that? The media is actually calling these shootings in the major cities, which they've always just left alone, because it happened every weekend. It was black on black crime. It was just considered part of what's going on in that city, I guess. I don't know. But I was surprised last Monday to see that coverage in that way, because I was just talking about the fact that they don't, and all of a sudden they do. So 6 years ago, and the red flag is where I started off on that. I was talking about another situation. He's a male. There were red flags there in communications, and then we find out that there was actually an FBI connection, and the father even said something's wrong here, and he got radicalized, Muslim radicalized, and of course they glossed over that. They didn't concentrate on it. They don't want to record that or make a point of that. But that was 6 years ago today, and it rippled through the country, but it also rippled through the LGBTQ plus community, because part of the reason, other than being this deranged individual, folks, is he targeted the gay community. And there's been a couple times in recent history, and I'm not talking about 6 months or a year, but recent history, decade or two, that there's been some things that were clearly targeted towards the LGBTQ plus community. There was the Pulse. There were a few other incidences at clubs, but also remember Andrew Cunanan, right? He was the, I guess the best way to describe him is just a two-bit hustler. He was a kid that was, the father came to this country. I think they were, forgive me, I can't remember if he was Cambodian or Filipino. He was, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I didn't even realize I was going to bring him up until he started talking. But the father came here to this country. He got into the, stockbroker. He got his citizenship. He got his stockbroker's license. He did fine for himself. And then, of course, after everything, we find out that there was, an unnatural relationship with the father. and this kid ends up hustling. But he started to murder all of these older gentlemen that he had come to know in a circle. And he would put on this show of being a lot wealthier than he is and so forth. So he was going across the country committing these murders, and that put a lot of people on edge. So there's been a couple incidences in recent history where the community has been targeted and straight out murdered, as I just said. So anyway, the 6th anniversary of the Pulse nightclub massacre happened today, 6 years ago, and that's just it's sad. But bringing it back to the issue of shootings and massacres, this is what I will talk about initially. And you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. What say you? We're going to have to take a break shortly, but I do want to talk a little bit about Matthew McConaughey showing up at the White House. Now, I understand. He was born and raised in Uvalde. So this hit him hard. It hit everybody who either lives or lived in Uvalde or in Texas in that area. It also affects all of us who, went to school. But I understand the personal connection here and how that was really going to be something that hit Matthew hard. That's no problem. I give him that. So when he came to speak, well, in the interview I saw, the news hit him. He said, hug his children a little tighter that night. And then the next morning, him and his wife and kids got in the car and they drove back to Uvalde. And they spent a few days there, meeting with people. I don't know exactly what he did, but then he decided to head on up to the White House. And he did. But the thing here is, folks, we're kind of against the clock. I'm going to take our first break here on a Sunday morning. We'll do that. We'll continue on the other side, and we'll continue with your input, your opinion. What say you? Join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side.
Gordon Lightfoot, live, the legend in concert.
You could read my mind, love.
October 19th at the Hanover Theater.
Someday,
A night of hit after hit after hit. Get tickets now at thehanovertheater.org or call 877-571-SHOW. Gordon Lightfoot, the legend in concert.
Spring is in the air, and it's full speed ahead for your Worcester Red Sox. And tickets are on sale now. Enjoy unique bobbleheads, Unibank fireworks, and magical moments for your family on the field. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888. No worries at Polar Park. We'll see you opening day, April 12th.
Hey everybody, Ryan Maloney here from It's the Liquor Talking, letting you know that you can hear us Saturday mornings at 11, but also at our new time, weeknights, right after Howie Carr at 7 p.m. It doesn't stop there. Randall and I are going to stick around and host North Star Music after the show. So join us for New England's only show about wine and spirits, and then pour yourself a glass of your favorite adult beverage. Enjoy Randall and I as we listen to your favorite music on the North Star.
Dr. Satya Mitra has journeyed from a childhood of poverty and homelessness to a successful career as a financial advisor, motivational speaker, and community leader. Now inspired by his guru, he uses his experiences to positively affect the lives of underprivileged people. We strive to house our blindness, poverty, homelessness, female empowerment, and good citizenship initiatives within the Joy Guru Humanitarian Center. If you wish to contribute or know of deserving persons or initiatives that could use our assistance, please contact us at 508-641-8441.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
folks. Welcome back to the second segment of the Sunday morning edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget, we're on TuneIn live streaming, and you can watch and listen on my social media platforms. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, etc., etc. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And don't forget, we do have a text line up and running at 617-297-8388. So gun control, Matthew McConaughey, yes, I get it. He takes this very personally, and absolutely got to give him that. I get that, right? I mean, you were born in that town. You went to that school. Matter of fact, his mother, from what I understand, worked at that school. So this is obviously a personal, very personal incident that is internalized for the guy. So my thing is, he went to the White House and he met with the president, and they turned the press secretary's podium over to him. Okay, that's what do you call that? I don't know why, because Biden wants to get any extra, oomph, right? We'll talk about his polls, right? I mean, he needs anything extra, and we're going to talk about the fact that he, first time in 100 and something days, he does a one-on-one interview, and he doesn't do it with a legitimate reporter or even one of the alleged reporters on the legacy media. He goes on late night with Kimmel, and that's a long tradition. But let's put a pin in that for a moment. I mean, Biden's approval sinks to 22% among young adults. And what's really concerning for the administration is it's down to 24% among Hispanics. But the point is, Mr. McConaughey goes up and meets with the president, and then he's given time at the podium. Now, I don't know. I would like to be given, time to lecture you from the press secretary's podium. That would be pretty cool. Why he's afforded this special treatment? I don't know. He's an actor. Oh, or is he a political wannabe? Or is he just an actor? I don't know. See, wasn't he going to run? I think it was governor of Texas at one point. And then he said, no, I'm not going to do that. He probably found out what it pays. But they do that. They give him the podium and they let him speak. Now, I don't know why they think that that is something that everybody wants to hear. I don't know about you, but I don't usually take the advice from actors. Right? Imagine Alec Baldwin following his advice. I mean, the thing here is, actors are actors. I've said this, I don't know how many times, guys. They should stay in their lane. That's one of the pet peeves I have when it comes to politics and stuff like that. It's when actors or singers get out of their lane. And they what do they call that? The Barbra Streisand effect. Remember, she did that concert after many years, and the tickets were hundreds of dollars. I don't remember what it was, but it was a ridiculous amount, right? And in the middle of the concert, she starts talking about Bush. This was George W. was in, and starts talking about the president. And you got people who are spending, when you add it all up, thousands of dollars for the night, and to listen to her sing. And she starts to lecture the audience about Bush and politics, and that's not why they're there. And people got up and walked out. They booed and so forth. And rightly so. Your celebrity comes from whatever that talent is, folks. Because you're a great singer or a great actor. You're not of note in fame because you're a statesman, because you're a political commentator. You're, that's not why you're there. And nobody really wants to hear it. Now, some people do. They're big fans and they want to know what their, their hero, their celebrity hero thinks about something. That's fine. Go to their social media. You'll find out. Go dig up an article written on them. You'll find out. But I think it's arrogant to inject your opinion, i.e., lectures, into a venue that it was not meant to be. That's a bait and switch, folks. If I pay $1,200 to go see you in concert and then you start talking to me and telling me that my politics are wrong and I'm an idiot for this or that, what the heck are you talking about? Wrong venue. That's a bait and switch. Dance monkey dance. That's what you're there for. Okay? It's not to all of a sudden turn this into a, roundtable discussion or meet the press or whatever. That's not the role. So that being said, he gets up there and he starts to talk about things. And all due respect, I think he's a good actor. I've liked everything I've seen him in, and I'll be honest, I don't think I've seen everything he's done. But where I have seen him, I think he's a good actor. He has that niche with that accent, and he's got kind of he's carved out a nice place in the Hollywood records, right? However, he is not known for being politically astute. That's not his gig. So you have to ask, is this groundwork for ambitions? But he was asked that straight. I think Brett Baer asked him that straight out. He said, no, I'm not running for office. But here's the thing. He had some interesting points, things for discussion, and that's fine. But one thing he mentioned, and I'm sharing this because, well, sure, you saw it probably or read about it, but everybody has brought up red flags. Now, there's red flags that are the things that we see or should have seen or you see in warning, right? But they're talking about implementing tougher. There's already red flag laws scattered around the country, right? A lot of states, depending which states you have. So that's not really the issue. That's not the point. The discussion about implementing national red flag laws and toughening them up is where I have a problem, and I have a big concern with that, folks, and so should you. Because what does that mean in real life? And how are the unintended consequences of this going to be handled? And why, again, do we go after those that are responsible gun owners who do everything the right way? And that's what's always happening. There's a shooting, tougher gun laws. Yet we don't enforce the gun laws that we have on the books. And when we look at some of these horrific shootings that happen, gun law after gun law after gun law was violated. Didn't matter. Because criminals, by definition, don't follow the law. They probably don't even know it. But no, I shouldn't say that. A lot of them know it. You know why? Because they purposely go by places they know that people could be armed, but they know that certain places forbid guns to be carried there, and they're called soft targets. So they do know the law in a lot of ways, and that's why they want to know it. So they talk about the gun owner who registers their weapons, and I suspect most people are either a member of NRA or, in this area, folks, GOAL. Right? There's local gun organizations, national gun organizations, and it really is something to me when the left or Hollywood attacks the NRA, and they've actually referred to it as a terrorist organization. Now, you're just absolutely gone around the bend with that. Because the NRA is absolutely about gun safety, responsible ownership. And I maintain that, if Hollywood used NRA instructors, that Texas shooting and the set of Rust with Baldwin there would not have happened. I 100% believe that if it was an NRA instructor, if they had the common sense to employ one, or make somebody from the Hollywood crowd go to the NRA training, that would not have happened. Because a legitimate NRA-rated instructor, or basically any legitimate, serious NRA instructor, or just gun instructor, wouldn't even had a live round. And why was there even a live round? I'm getting off course here. The point is, the NRA is not a terrorist organization, and they're all about gun safety and gun handling in the appropriate way. So McConaughey's up there. He talks about these red flag laws. Well, what is the end game in that? Because what does that mean? You're talking about, and most of these are proposing that a phone call is enough for the authorities to come and confiscate your guns, and then you need to earn them back. And if I'm not mistaken, that's pretty much the opposite of the basis of our judicial system here and in this country, that you are in fact innocent until proven guilty. But I tell you what, folks, we need to pause for a moment for a break here, and we'll return on the other side with the second half of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, reminding you that you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. Stick with us. Back in a moment.
You just may have the best podcast anywhere.
Blah, 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 blah.
But who knows it exists? Hello? Get your podcast to broadcast on radio. Create a podcast. Improve your podcast sound with professional production and editing. Record your podcast in a real radio studio. Visit podcasttobroadcast.org today. Get your podcast on the radio with podcasttobroadcast.org.
Hi, you laugh?
Yes, Medicare is such a maze.
United Healthcare can help.
Is that why you're driving this bulldozer?
Hop in. Choosing a plan doesn't have to be complicated. United Healthcare has the people, tools, and plans to get you through it, including the only Medicare plans with the AARP name.
That was easy.
Need to find a Medicare plan? Get help now at uhcmedicare.com. AARP Medicare plans from United Healthcare. United Healthcare pays royalty fees to AARP. AARP is not an insurer.
Today, any big retailer can sell you that cheap bottle of wine. But at Julio's, it's always been about service, selection, and knowledge. Whether it's that perfect dinner wine, a hard-to-find whiskey, or that beautiful craft brew, Julio's has it all in our massive selection, along with our in-house tobacco shop, our specialty food items, and over 300 hot sauces. And if you don't have our Julio's Liquors VIP app, you're missing out on tastings, flash sales, and events. At Julio's Liquors, it's all about getting you what you want. No pressure, no commission, ever. Julio's Liquors, Route 9 East in the Westboro Shopping Center. Service, selection, and knowledge.
Worry less with Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty Mutual saved me almost $800 when I switched my home and auto insurance. Liberty did what? Yeah, I got the perfect coverage for us, and I didn't have to worry about skimping on Emma's party. Oh, well, that explains the
Holly! Best birthday ever!
Visit us online to get a quote. You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance. Based on a recent countrywide survey of new customers. Coverage is underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
welcome back for the second half of the Sunday morning edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. And that reminding you that actually you're so lucky you have me all morning. Mike Wade's out this week. He will be back next Sunday morning, I'm assuming. And that means I'm here from now until 9 o'clock. I'll be filling in for Conservatively Speaking from 7 to 9, and then we'll hand off to Mr. Peter Balutz. And Jerry Doherty sneaks in there around 9:30 with a little slant on what's happening as far as your money goes. So that's what's happening there. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let me jump to the phones. We've had a couple of gentlemen waiting patiently. We'll go to Mark first. Good morning, Mark. You look marvelous. What's on your mind?
Well, let's see what's going on in this country. Unbelievable.
All right.
Anyways, I want to get back to last time I talked to you Friday. This Judge Kavanaugh incident, Chevy Chase, Maryland. Now, apparently found with a Glock pistol, correct?
Yep. Glock 9mm screwdriver.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Big shopping list.
Yeah. Well, I want to focus on the weapon he had. Now, in the top supermarket incident in New York and the Uvalde, Texas incident in Texas, within 48 hours, we knew where those guys bought the guns, who they bought the guns for, how much they paid for the guns. We knew everything about it.
Yep.
Within 48 hours. This incident, can I have the cricket noise, please? Not only do you not even hear about that on mainstream media, about this guy with the gun in Maryland, Chevy Chase, you know, I haven't heard anything about where he purchased the gun. Was it in California? How did he get it from California all the way across country to Maryland? Did he fly in a commercial airliner with that gun? Did he not? Did he drive across? Nothing. You hear nothing about where he purchased that gun, have you? I haven't, and I follow the news pretty closely. All right, so yeah, so that's number one. Number two, getting back to that case, from what I hear in the mainstream media, you know, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what I hear in mainstream media, that he arrived on the scene not far from Kavanaugh's home, 1:15, I believe, in the morning. There were two federal agents outside of his house. I guess they were leaning up against the car. This guy pulls up at 1:15 in the morning, dressed in black, with a backpack, with some kind of a carrying case, a suitcase of some kind, and he walks right past the house with the two agents there, and they didn't even question him. They looked at him and he walked right by. Yep. Then later on, all right. So if I'm wrong in with the facts, let me know, because that's what I'm here. I heard on mainstream media. Of course, is you've heard nothing. It's like it never took place.
Mark,
you're
right on target.
Yes,
Everything you're
yes.
saying is accurate.
All right. So let's go on with the rest of it. So, anyways, according to what I hear in mainstream news, if that isn't strange enough, very strange as far as I'm concerned, right? He walks past them, and he gets about a block away, and I guess he gets cold feet, I guess. And he calls 911. He spills his guts to the person, whoever answered the phone on the 911 call. Yep. They dispatch some police, and they arrest him, and they find him with the not only the weapon, but the burglary tools, et cetera, in his possession. End of story. I haven't heard anything more about it. It's like it's almost never happened.
Not only that,
what's going on with this guy?
Not only that,
I mean, it's one. you're a professional investigator. I mean, you talk about one red flag after another, and none of these questions have been answered. No. And it looks like the mainstream media don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole.
No, that's because now you're talking about the political realm. If you just stick it in and stay with the actual factual events and in evidence and so forth, that's one discussion. But Mark, everything today in this world is politicized. Look at the.
Well, I know that. I know that, but I'm talking to.
Mark, there's other people listening, so we've got to talk so that because not everybody, like you said, you follow the news, man. Probably more than any other caller that I know of, maybe Ken or something. But I got to tell you, the average person doesn't know a lot of this stuff, Mark. So when we're talking, we got to remember that we got to fill in some blanks for people because they might not know this stuff. But the point I was going to make is here's a perfect example of what you're talking about. The headline for this incident, by the way, in the Cleveland paper or whatever it is in Cleveland says, get this. Man arrested near Justice Kavanaugh's home, charged with attempted murder, right? That is in one. Other headlines just say, man arrested near Kavanaugh's home. And it doesn't get in. You got to get into the story to find out what this kid was actually going to do. Now, I wonder, Mark, if that was a right-leaning conservative or, God forbid, a mega hat-wearing 26-year-old that did this at Justice Sotomayor's house, what do you think the media coverage would be then? Off the scale.
Well, I mean, you're asking a rhetorical question. In other words, you're asking a question that you already know the answer to. But what I'm focusing on is standard police procedure. I mean, even private security guards who if they were assigned to that, they would have questioned the guy. They wouldn't have put their hands on him. All right, they would have said to him. One of them would have blocked his progress without touching him, while the other one was answering him questions. Even private, never mind federal agents. I mean, private security would have done that. But these federal agents, according to what I hear, didn't even do that. They let the guy walk right past 1:15 in the morning. None of it makes any sense.
It doesn't make any sense because they were marshals, 2 federal marshals protecting a justice's home. 1:15 in the morning, a young guy dressed in black carrying duffel bags is walking by. You're protecting his home. The kid should never ever have been allowed to pass that home without at least a stop and question. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Why? And what were their orders? And they knew exactly what was going on. They're at a height. They're there because there's attempts on these justices' life. And I'm sorry, but
that's why they were there.
I'm telling you
that's why they were there.
Schumer has got to answer for what he did. He stood 2 years ago. He stood out there in front of the Supreme Court, and he threatened the justices. Now, these are people, Mark, who have an appointment for life. So the threat isn't we're going to run somebody against you. We're going to vote you out of office. That's impossible. It's not set up that way. So what the heck does he mean by the whirlwind and you're going to feel the wrath in all this? You're inciting people, and we have too many people that are a little off to be saying or suggesting that you go after a Supreme Court justice. He should be held responsible for that. No question.
What about the supervisor of these 2 marshals?
I have no idea.
Apparently they have supervisors.
Mark,
can't find anything. Nobody knows nothing. Nobody knows where the gun was purchased, where he acquired it, how he got it there. Nobody knows nothing. Nothing.
Here's the thing, Mark. I'm not even finding that information in the conservative print or online sites. I'm not even finding it, on the alternative news. I'm not finding those details anywhere.
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to bring up. It's nowhere. Yeah. It's like it's been deleted. It's like it's been stepped on. the whole story.
And it was barely.
I'm not, it's.
It was barely a news cycle story, Mark. I mean, they just got it off the headlines as
Yeah.
fast as they could. But I gotta hold you there. We got phone calls lined up.
Right. Okay. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Always a great call. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let me jump to Ken, who's been waiting very patiently. Ken, good morning, sir. You're up early on a Sunday.
As always, Joe, every day I'm up early. I'm actually been like an hour or so, hour and a half, and I got up late from I get up at 4 many mornings. But anyway,
how are the
good morning
grandkids,
again,
by the way, Ken?
They're doing just fine. Now 9 and 7 months. I can say the younger one, well, she caught it first and gave it to her dad, COVID.
Okay.
So she has daycare, and a week ago Friday, it was reported others in the daycare got it, and sure enough, by Sunday night, the two of them had it.
So
but
they moved
they're doing
right
fine.
through the daycare then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But fortunately, we're in Omicron, and it's not nearly as serious as pre-Omicron, so everything's fine. Of course, they're young and healthy.
Is the airborne vaccination, as far as I'm concerned? I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Every variant, it gets weaker, but it spreads easier, and that way, basically, nature's immunizing us throughout the world.
There you go.
You just got to worry about those damn monkey pox. Don't get the pox now.
Yeah.
What did you call about, though? What's on your mind?
Well, I was going to call about something else, but, Mark's discussion was so hot that I wanted to keep it going.
Yeah. So the thing here is and I was talking about this the other day on the show, that looking at it from someone who has, in my younger days, folks, been the escort, which in the security business, that means bodyguard, not that kind of escort. So when you're an escort, you have a protectee, and there are certain things that you do and follow, and those were lacking here. And then if you just look at it as you got two federal marshals who know why they're there. They're in front of the home of a Supreme Court justice, and there was a judge murdered. How many days before this? Is it a matter of a week, 8-9 days or something? They know what they're doing there. And this isn't 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Ken. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. And somebody shows up in a taxi, which, okay, maybe that puts you off a little bit. You might think it's somebody returning from an airport. But a young guy dressed in black with a duffel bag and walking towards the why did I draw a blank? Kavanaugh's home. He should have been detained. Like Mark said, you don't put the hands on him, but excuse me, sir, can we help you? What are you doing? Why did none of that take place? It's crazy.
Yeah, and much of what Mark described, I was not familiar with, so thank you very much, Mark. And he was very forceful in his delivery. This is all great. I hope the maximum number of people are listening to this show, because now they're being informed. But there was one piece that he didn't mention that I've heard repeatedly as part of this story, is how he was apprehended.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, so he calls, for folks who don't know what's happening. He walks by the house, unchallenged, barely, acknowledged, goes down the street, and whatever's going on in his mind, folks, he calls 911. And he tells the operator on the other end that he's having suicidal thoughts, and that he just came from California, and that he was going to kill Justice Kavanaugh. And they're asking him, what are you doing right now? Where are you? He says, do you have any weapons? Yes, I have a gun, but it's locked in a case. Right? So he's telling I don't know if it's a dispatcher or a police officer, they're usually very highly trained, kind of dispatchers at the 911 center. And he's telling that person, it's a man, that he does have a gun, but it's locked in a case. and that they should come get him. So what's going on there?
Joe. Yeah, Joe, from your work, doesn't it sound like pretty clear what's going on?
You say it.
You want me to spell it out?
Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead. Tell them what you're thinking. Tell me and tell everybody
It
listening.
sounds like this. It sounds like this man, not a kid, 26 years old, Joe,
right,
was hired to do a job, and he got cold feet.
Mm-hmm. Now the question is, was the job to actually kill the justice, or was the job to cause this, arrest and look what's happening? Was he hired? That's where I'm half convinced that he was hired for this. But was he hired to actually commit the murder, or was he hired to go through these steps and then make that phone call?
So that doesn't make sense. What I mean, that's not the human condition. The human condition is, all right, he's hired to do something. Mm-hmm. All the details we can only, somebody investigates. But is the FBI going to investigate this? Let's be serious. The FBI is going to investigate. They're not going to tell us. FBI is corrupt. They're at the top.
Ken,
so
we have.
I'm not suggesting the FBI was in on this. I'm just saying.
Well, wait a minute. Now that's not like that hasn't happened, right? I mean, we got the Gretchen situation, governor there, who all of a sudden, when stuff does finally come out, what do we find out? That the FBI had undercover, inserted into these guys, and from all accounts there, it was the FBI's idea to commit the kidnapping and murder to begin with. And now there's a question, and we're not getting the answers about January 6th, how many undercover officers were, or agents, I shouldn't say officers, were there. And remember that was Ebbs. There is tons of video of this guy, right, inciting the crowd, telling them, you got to march down, you got to go in there. And he was actually on the FBI's most wanted list. And then that all went away, Ken. Came off the FBI list, right? He went home to whatever, where is he? In the Midwest somewhere, right? Went home, and the FBI is like, no, he's not a person of interest. Now, he's on countless minutes of video on January 6th doing exactly what they have other people currently sitting in jail for. But this guy's untouchable. And he claims he has no connection to the FBI or any federal agency whatsoever. But that was clearly a plant. But he's off. He's off limits right now.
So the bottom line, Joe, is I'm not going to make a direct claim as to what the FBI did in this incident. There's a lot of suspicion. I certainly don't trust them. But I think a conclusion that this guy was hired to do a hit and got cold feet is a very strong conclusion that we can reach. And also, we have to start thinking about this nation isn't going to survive with the FBI in its current form. They are so corrupt. They have to be busted up and cleaned up, and that should be one of the top missions of the next Congress.
Yeah, I agree with that. There has to be.
They have an important function, but they're not doing it.
Yeah, they have a very important function, and I wouldn't say eliminate the FBI, but it needs a overhaul. I mean, literally break it down to the basics again and start over. Because the problem there, or not a problem, but my problem with wiping them out is you have men and women who dedicated their lives to be in the FBI. They want to serve, and this is the path they chose. And to lump them in with all the other, the rotten apples is just wrong to these people. But you have to weed out those agents who are not corruptible, who are there for the right reasons, and use them as the foundation, the basic building blocks to the next, incarnation of the FBI. But we know that there are a few of these people, and we know them by name because we've seen the texts and the emails and the testimony. Even Comey, in front of Congress under oath, admitting that he leaked FBI documents to his former professor because he knows that would get out there, and no consequence to that guy, none. He wasn't reprimanded or charged with anything.
Lots of problems, and we have to keep ourselves informed. Thank you very much, Mark, and really pressing this issue. I mean, he's had many chances, and he keeps getting back to it because he knows it's so important, and he's tying the pieces of the story together.
And what we're missing here is, and Mark brought it up, and it's a good question, is, okay, whose gun is it? Where was it bought? How did it get to him there?
Yeah.
When he's from Cal, he came across the country. So did he come over the country, cross it, fly from California? And then how does a 26-year-old buy a gun? So this nobody, it's not in any articles. Nobody, where did the gun come from? How did he get it there? Did he show up here and somebody handed him a, like in the movies, here's a big envelope and there's some cash.
Bingo.
And here's a gun, and you got to run down to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever and get your zip ties and screwdriver and yada, yada, yada. And here's your instructions. Eat that when you're done reading it. Memorize it and burn it or whatever they did. How did the gun get into this kid's hand from across the country?
The bottom line is most of these situations that we follow, the big news, Uvalde, all the other type of shootings, they're almost exclusively a lone wolf story. This is not a lone wolf story. Clearly, there's at least one other person involved in the actions that this person took.
Yeah. It seems like a lot going on for this kid, and clearly he's a little unstable to begin with, which, by the way, his profile is pretty much what you would look for to manipulate into this thing. He's on some prescription medication. He's depressed, right? He has no purpose in life. These are his words, right? I didn't have purpose, trying to find a purpose in life, a reason.
Joe.
Here we are. We're going to give you a reason. We're gonna.
But
go ahead.
But Joe, you said those are his words. Are his words the truth, or what he was told to tell if he ever gets caught?
Again, great question. Are we ever going to find it out, though?
Of course not. Not with today's media. Not with today's FBI.
This is the type of thing, Ken, that if we do, it's going to be years from now when some reporter or someone who wants to do an article or something, trying to make their bones in the business. This is done in with, he's somewhere serving. God, maybe he ends up in one of these mental institutions or something. I don't know. We'll see how it plays. But maybe somewhere down the road we will get these answers, because he will open up 8 years from now or something like that. But we're not going to find out right now.
I doubt his report case is even going to be reported.
I think there's a plea coming here. Obviously, it's not even going to. There's not going to be a court hearing. This is going to be worked out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We're not going to have a court.
Make it disappear.
It's all going to be a plea negotiated. The only time he's going to see court is, that's it. You go in, bang, accept the plea, prosecution, defense, everybody will work it out. Judge accepts it. That's it. That's all the courtroom he's going to see. There's going to be no jury. There's going to be no long trial, much less televised, Ken. Not happening.
Yeah, but Joe, let's say he were to have a jury. He'd be found innocent because this would be a DC case.
Yeah, that's true too. Right? Look at the pool.
Although, hang on, maybe I'm wrong there. It's done in Chevy Chase.
Yeah,
So,
but that's
but
Maryland.
they'd find some way of putting it in front of a DC case.
That's Maryland. Wouldn't that be something? You change a venue to get it to a DC thing where Sussman. First thing that should have happened with that Sussman trial in Durham is gotten the heck out of there because it's such a tainted pool. 3 people on that jury donated to Hillary Clinton. The judge's daughter, right, is in that, what is it, track or rowing or crewing or something, with the daughters to get, like, what is going on here, folks? That should have had a change of venue and gotten it out of there.
Joe, it's really interesting there. Historically, I've heard that the founding fathers were insistent that trials be held in front of peers, our peers, because they understood that there was a degree of corruption within judges. They expected judges to be corrupt. They didn't expect the people to be corrupt. That's what's so dangerous of what's going on in the District of Columbia. Because the people themselves are highly educated and corrupt.
And the other thing is, you got to go to that time and remember that that our founding fathers, what they were coming from, and they knew that noble people, thought commoners and peasants as so much, beneath them. Even at one point, that they just lied naturally, and they had to be beaten just for the heck of it to tell the truth. So that's why they had to have peers. You couldn't have a nobleman judging a commoner. But we're against the clock, Ken. Thank you for the call so much. Folks, this is going to wrap up the Joe Mangiacotti Show, but take a break, and we come back on the other side. Conservatively speaking, I'll be sitting in for Mike Wade today, so I'll be with you till 9 o'clock here on AM 830 WCRN. Mike Wade is perfectly fine. He'll be back next Sunday morning. Hey, we got 2 more hours to go. Great way to spend a Sunday morning, folks. Stick with us. Back on the other side.